in El Salvador, the women have a long history of discrimination, repression, and just not being part of the everyday production, either for the participating outside of the house. So it's been traditional, and particularly because Share works at the community level. In rural areas, the women stay in the house and the man usually goes out to work. But that needs to change, and it needs to change. It has changed, and women have been sometimes pushed to do it, even though that has not been the tradition because of the war.
Share started 30 years ago, and it's a combination of Salvadorians and people from the U.S. that respond to situation of poverty, situation of the war at that time, and we have been doing learning about what's going on in the community, and then what we call walking with the people, where we physically accompany them, and then try to find how can we help the community, including changing policies. But the levels of poverty are very deep, so that's why getting together in a co-op or in some form of organization and brainstorming, and also accessing the international community, which many now know how to do that. That's what Share does, and food security has been one of the pillars of our work, because with free trade, the free trade that was supposed to come and help and improve conditions, it has done exactly the opposite, where communities now are more dependent on the international market, and the food prices just goes up. The microfinance component is that basically there are limited resources, and the idea is to rotate the money, because it's easy to use a whole ton of money, and at the end of 10 years you go and there's nothing. Everything was used, everything was expended. So the Share will give the donation as a donation to the co-op, but the co-op will lend the money.
Okay.
And when you're lending the money, there's a little bit of pressure to succeed. Like you need to be very alert, versus that if what's given from mom or pop, you can lose it, no problem. Here you have to pay it back. So there's a collective of women that you need to go through a 1-year training.
Oh, really?
Before you can access, and there are many more candidates, many more women that wish to be, and the training will only accept so many per year. And the Mujeres Ganaderas is an interesting program, because they organize, it's a co-op, and they are doing an activity that traditionally has been done by men or investors. They are not doing the tiny little sewing project, but a project that will produce profit, and that with that they learn to do the whole piece. In the very beginning, some 10 years ago, women were not able to enter the area where you purchase the baby cows, because that was exclusively for men.
Really?
It was that, and there were no women trying to enter that market. So they would send their sons or their husbands, and eventually they carved the space and they said, no, we are the ones that will do this. So they are organized, they participate in the political life of the community. They are respected, like somebody will say, what do the Mujeres Ganaderas think about this issue? And consider their, and they will over time become well off economically. also have the gardens, the community gardens, where women will be cultivating the vegetables for themselves. But in cultivating the vegetables, they are also addressing another issue, which is the mega companies that come to El Salvador and start displacing the local production. They will be trained, by other farmers that to use organic or sustainable methods in a way in which you don't have to buy the seeds every year to the Monsantos and the Cristianis, where you can produce your own fertilizer, and where the gathering to produce becomes a space for education. You don't give the money at once. You give it, and you're observing. We have 5 persons that are visiting the community, sometimes formally, sometimes informally, and you're observing how the project is developing. If they were supposed to do ABC, every 3 months, and they are not, you kind of start asking questions.
I think there's different ways that you can help. And of course, we would invite everybody who's interested in El Salvador to come and work with us somehow. Either to donate or to participate in a program or project, or to become part of a delegation. But if we know the interest of the person, then I think we could better direct them. But there are many, many ways. Like I always tell Jose, in El Salvador you can just do anything and everything works, because there's a lot of gaps in many areas where we need help.
See, this question was asked to the Archbishop that was killed in El Salvador. And he said, it's simple, do something. It's finding, the tiny little corner connected to the larger picture.